The river was quiet that night. Ethan stood near the old wooden dock, holding a fishing rod he hadn't used in years. The sky above was clear, stars shining like tiny lamps, and the moon floated high like a silver coin. The water flowed slowly, calm and cold. Trees rustled gently in the wind. He wasn't there to catch fish. He just needed space. Space to think, breathe, and forget. Life in the city had become two heavy work problems, lost friends, and the silence of a lonely apartment. Out here, near the water, he felt human again. Then, something broke the silence. Splash. Loud, sudden, close. Ethan froze. His eyes darted across the river. Something or someone had fallen in. He saw ripples, then small hands fighting the current, a flash of pale skin. No, it shimmered strangely, almost silver blue. The figure was small, maybe the size of a child, but the shape wasn't quite right. Then he heard a sound, a cry, not loud. Weak, choked by water. Without thinking, Ethan dropped the rod and ran to the edge. He kicked off his boots and jacket. His heart raced. He couldn't just watch someone drown not again. He took a deep breath and jumped in. The cold hit like 1,000 knives. The water closed around him. He pushed forward, kicking, gasping, searching through the dark. Then he touched something soft. A shoulder, thin arms, hair that felt like silk and seaweed. He pulled hard, kicking his legs until they broke the surface. They both gasped for air. She wasn't human. Her face was beautiful, but different. Its eyes too large, glowing faintly like soft lights. Skin smooth, with lines like tiny gills near her neck. Fingers longer than his, and webbed. And yet, she looked terrified. Helpless. Ethan dragged her to the bank. Both of them were coughing, soaked, and freezing. She collapsed on the grass, shaking. Ethan quickly pulled his jacket over her. "Hey, you okay? Can you hear me?" he asked, trying to sound calm. His hands trembled as he touched her wrist. Her pulse was fast, too fast. She looked up at him, blinking slowly. Her lips moved. "WH. Why? Help. Me," she whispered. Her voice was soft, broken. The words were in English, but shaky, like she had just learned them. Her eyes searched his face, confused. Ethan blinked. "Because?" "You were drowning," he said simply. I couldn't let you die." Her eyes filled with water again, but this time it wasn't the river tears. She turned her head away, ashamed. No one. Help before. Ethan gently turned her face back to him. "Well, I'm not no one. My name's Ethan. What's yours?" She didn't answer. Instead, her body shivered harder. Ethan realized she was still wet and cold. He took off his shirt and wrapped it around her legs. "We need to get you warm," he said. "There's an old cabin nearby, just a short walk. Can you stand?" She tried to move, but winced in pain. "Okay, no problem," he said, crouching down. "I'll carry you." She hesitated, then slowly nodded. Ethan lifted her carefully. She was light to light, as if she hadn't eaten in days. She clung to him like a kitten, her thin arms wrapping around his neck, her head resting against his chest. Her wet hair smelled like salt and flowers. The walk back felt longer than usual. Branches scraped his arms, mud pulled at his feet. But he didn't stop, not once. Finally, the cabin came into view, small wooden shelter by the trees. He kicked the door open and laid her gently on the old couch. Then he started a fire in the stone fireplace. The room glowed orange, warm and soft. She looked around slowly. Her eyes locked onto the flames, wide with wonder. "Fire," she whispered. "You've never seen fire?" Ethan asked, surprised. She shook her head. "Only from far." He wrapped her in a blanket. "Well, welcome to planet Earth. He smiled. Not always friendly, but sometimes we get things right. She smiled back, small, nervous, but real. Ethan sat beside her, watching her breathe. He still didn't know who or what she was, but something in her eyes. It wasn't just fear, it was hope. Like she'd never been helped before, never been touched with kindness. And for the first time in a long time, Ethan felt something strong inside purpose. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But tonight, one thing was clear. He had saved her, and maybe she would save him too. Ethan sat on the floor of the cabin, leaning against the couch. His clothes were still damp, but he didn't care. His eyes stayed on the girl now. The alien girl wrapped in the old blanket. Her skin had color now, a soft silver blue that shimmered in the firelight. But she was still shivering. She looked fragile, small, like a porcelain statue that could break with one wrong move. He stood up and poured hot water into a metal cup. He added a few drops of honey from a jar he'd left in the cabinet long ago. Then he carefully brought it to her. "Here," he said. "This might help." She looked at the cup like it was a strange object from another world. Ethan chuckled. "It's just tea." "Well, kind of. Drink. It's warm." She sniffed it. Her nose twitched, and then she slowly took a sip. Her lips parted, and for a moment, she looked surprised. "Sweet," she whispered. He smiled. "You like it?" She nodded slowly. "Warm, ... inside." Ethan pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "You still haven't told me your name," he said gently. She looked at him for a long time. Her glowing eyes held something deep, sadness, maybe, or fear. Then finally she spoke. "Lyra." "Lyra," Ethan repeated. "That's a beautiful name." She tilted her head. "Yours, Ethan?" "Yeah," he said with a soft smile. Ethan." There was silence for a moment. The only sound was the fire, popping and hissing softly. Then suddenly, Lyra coughed a deep, painful sound. Her whole body jerked as if something inside was trying to escape. She dropped the cup. It rolled onto the floor, spilling warm liquid. Hey, it's okay," Ethan said, reaching for her. But Lyra's eyes widened in panic. She grabbed at her chest, gasping. Her gills along her neck flared open, glowing a pale blue. Then, from her mouth, thick liquid spilled, dark blue and sticky. Ethan froze. Was she dying? No, he muttered. "Stay with me." He leaned over her. CPR. No, he remembered what she looked like in the water. Her lungs weren't built like his. He'd done first aid courses in the past, but none of them ever covered alien biology. She coughed again, and her breathing slowed. "Think, Ethan," he said to himself, heart pounding. "She's part aquatic, maybe water still trapped in her." Then he remembered a rescue trick from his training, the backdrain method used on water breathers. He pulled her gently to her side, placing his hand on her back and pressing in a rhythmic motion. At first, nothing. Then suddenly whoosh, more fluid came out, and Lyra gasped. Her chest rose. Her body shook. Then, "Seek to God." It sounded clearer, stronger. She took a deep breath, and color returned too. Her face, Ethan let out a breath of his own. "You scared the hell out of me." Lyra opened her eyes. "Not dead. No," he said with a grin. "Not on my watch." She blinked slowly. "You saved me again." He sat back, brushing his soaked hair away from his eyes. "Looks like I'm getting good at this." She gave a soft laugh. It was weak, but it warmed the room more than the fire. "I owe you," she said. Ethan shook his head. "You don't owe me anything." But she looked serious. "I was prisoner before. No one helped. No one looked. You saw me. You came. Ethan felt a strange knot in his chest. He didn't know what she had been through, but it sounded horrible. He wanted to ask, but not now. Not when she had just barely survived. Lyra, he said quietly, you're safe here. I swear. She looked around the cabinette, the dusty walls, the fire, the worn furniture, and back at him. It's warm, she said again. Ethan leaned against the couch, looking up at the ceiling. Yeah, he said softly. It's been cold for a long time, even when the fire's lit. Lyra slowly reached out, her hand brushing against his dot. Her fingers were colder than his. But there was strength in the touch. I'm glad. You found me, she whispered. Ethan turned his head toward her. So am I. Outside, the wind picked up, but inside, the cabin was still. Quiet, safe. Lyra closed her eyes, her breathing soft and steady now. Ethan watched her for a long moment before closing his eyes too. He didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but tonight, he had a reason. To stay awake, to protect, to hope, to believe. The fire was low, just glowing embers now. Morning light peeked through the cracks in the wooden cabin walls. Everything felt calm, too calm. For a moment, he wondered if last night had been a dream. Maybe the river, the silver-skinned girl. The rescue it was all in his head. But then he looked at the couch. She was still there, Lyra, sleeping quietly. Wrapped in his blanket, her face turned toward the fire. Her glowing eyes were closed, her silver-blue skin soft under the golden morning. Light, her hair now dry, looked like flowing strands of liquid metal. Ethan smiled, until something outside snapped. A branch. He stood up quickly and moved to the small window. At first, he saw nothing, just trees. Missed the river in the distance. Then he spotted it, a drone. Small, black, floating just above the ground. Its red scanner eye swept slowly across the area. His heart jumped. Someone was looking for her. He turned to Lyra. Wake up now. She opened her eyes fast, sensing something was wrong. What is it? Drone, outside, Ethan whispered. Is it looking for you? Lyra sat up fast, fear flashing in her eyes. Collectors, she said. They come back. They always come. Come on, Ethan said. We have to go. Now. She stumbled as she stood, still weak. But she grabbed his hand. Which way? Ethan grabbed a bag from the corner and threw in a water bottle, some bread, and an old thermal blanket. Follow me, he said. There's a trail behind the cabin. It leads through the woods to the old quarry. They won't find us there. Lyra nodded. They stepped out the back door quietly, slipping into the trees just as the drone floated toward the cabin. Ethan kept low, holding Lyra's hand tight. The forest was alive with birds and insects. But all Ethan could hear was the soft hum of the drone behind them. Then another sound. A louder one. Skimmers, he knew that sound. A small anti-grav crafts, fast, silent, used by private security groups. And slavers? Keep moving, Ethan whispered. Lyra was breathing hard, but she didn't slow down. Her bare feet barely made a sound on the forest floor. She moved with surprising grace, even in fear. Then, in the distance, voices, not human. Voices sharp, mechanical. Speaking in a mix of alien clicks and trade tongue commands. They brought hunters. Lyra said, eyes wide. We must hide. There's a cave not far from here, Ethan said. I used to hide there as a kid. They ran, pushing through branches, jumping over roots, but then a sudden worry sound from above. Another drone spotted them. Its red eye turned bright, and a siren burst out. Run! Ethan shouted. They sprinted, weaving between trees. The drone followed close. Flashing lights and shooting stun pulses that sizzled past their heads. Then Lyra grabbed Ethan's shirt and yanked him down. Under here, she said, They slid beneath a thick bush that opened into a hollow dip in the earth. Lyra curled up against him. The drone passed overhead, scanning. They held their breath, then silence, after what felt like forever. The humming sound faded. They didn't move for several minutes. Ethan turned to her. "You saved us back there." Lyra gave a shaky smile. "We save each other." Ethan helped her up. "Come on, we're almost there." They made their way deeper into the woods. Trees grew thicker. The air turned cooler. Then they saw the rock stall. Gray cliffs and a dry stream cutting through. The cave was hidden behind a curtain of vines. Inside, it was dark but safe. Lyra sank to the ground, breathing hard. They won't follow into stone. Their scans don't work well underground. Ethan leaned against the cave wall. His shoulder ached, and his legs felt like jelly. But they were safe. "For now, why are they chasing you?" he asked softly. Lyra looked at him, her face tired but serious. "Because I escaped. I was a rare one. My voice, my blood, it's worth credits to them. I was taken from my home, sold in markets, displayed in tanks. They call me the Siren Child." Ethan clenched. His jaw. "That's sick. I sang for crowds," she whispered, "but I never smiled. Until you." Her words were quiet, but they struck hard. Ethan took her hand gently. "They're not taking you again, I swear." She stared at him, confused but hopeful. "Why do you care?" Ethan shrugged. "Because someone should have cared a long time ago. And I was there. I saw you. I jumped in that river. Maybe it was fate. Or just luck. But now I'm not letting go." Her lips trembled. Then, without warning, she leaned forward and rested. Her head on his shoulder. "I believe you," she said softly. Outside, the forest was no longer quiet. But inside the cave, something stronger than fear had begun to grow. The cave was cold. But it felt safer than the open forest. Lyra curled up beside the wall, wrapped in the old blanket Ethan had carried in his bag. Her body still trembled slightly, but she was breathing steady now. Her glowing eyes stared into the dark, watching. The shadows danced on the cave walls. Ethan sat across from her, using a small light from his keychain to check his gear. He had a tiny emergency heater, a few water packs, and a half-broken communicator. Not much, but enough to survive for a little while. "Here," he said, tossing a protein bar toward her. She caught it with one hand, but she didn't open it. She looked at the wrapper like it was a mystery. "What is it?" "Food," Ethan said. "Not the best, but it'll keep you alive." Lyra slowly unwrapped it and took a small bite. Her face twisted in surprise. "Strange. It's sweet," she mumbled. Ethan chuckled. "Yeah, welcome to human survival food." She chewed slowly, watching him. "You have helped me 3 times now. You don't even know who I really am." Ethan looked up. "I know your name is Lyra. I know you were drowning. I know you've been hurt. That's enough." She lowered her eyes. "There's more." Ethan waited, giving her space. Then she spoke again. "I was born in the deep oceans of my planet. My people are called the Nalyari. We were once singers, peacebringers, caretakers of the sea. But when Earth's traders came, they brought machines, cages, deals we didn't understand." Her hands gripped the blanket tightly. "My mother trusted them. She gave a song as a gift. In return, they took me. Said I was rare, valuable." Ethan's stomach twisted. "They sold you." She nodded. "To a collector. I was locked in a tank on a ship. He made me sing every day. Said my voice calmed his nerves." "Bastard," Ethan muttered. "I escaped 2 nights ago," Lyra continued. "When the ship landed on this planet for supplies, I broke the tank. I ran, jumped into the river. I didn't know if I'd survive. But then, I saw you. Ethan leaned back, his chest heavy. That wasn't a rescue. That was fate. Lyra tilted her head. You believe in fate. He thought for a second. I never used to. But lately, after seeing you fall into that river right where I was standing, after hearing your voice in the cave, maybe I'm starting to. She looked at him closely. You don't look like a fighter. He smiled. I'm not. Then why protect me? Because sometimes the people who need protecting the most don't have anyone. I know what that feels like. Lyra looked surprised. You. Okay. Ethan nodded slowly. My parents died when I was a kid. Grew up in shelters. People looked at me like I was trouble. I had to fight just to be noticed. So when I saw you in that river, alone, drowning, I couldn't walk away. A long silence passed between them. Then Lyra said softly, You are more Nalyari than many of my own people. Ethan chuckled. That a compliment? The highest one I can give, she said, with a small smile. He moved to the cave entrance and peeked out. Still quiet. But they'll be looking. Lyra stood and walked toward him, still weak, but moving better. If they catch me, erase my name, make me nothing. They do that to slaves. No songs, no memories. Ethan turned to her. Then we don't let them. How? She asked. They have ships, drones, weapons. Ethan looked out at the misty forest again, then back at her. I've got one thing they don't. She raised an eyebrow. What's that? He tapped his chest. Stubborn human heart. She blinked, then suddenly laughed, clear, beautiful. Sound that echoed through the cave. You are strange, she said. I've been called worse. Her face turned serious again. What will you do when they find us? Ethan paused, then said, I'll stand between them and you. No matter. What? Lyra stared at him like she didn't believe anyone could say such words. Then she walked closer. Her fingers brushed his hand. There's a bond in my culture. An oath. When someone saves your life and promises again to protect you, you are tied. Ethan raised an eyebrow. Tied? How? By choice, she said. And by heart. He nodded slowly. Then I choose it. Her eyes widened. You don't even know what it means. I don't need to, he replied. I know what's right. Then Lyra did something unexpected. She gently pressed her forehead against his. A soft blue light glowed. Between them, faint, like moonlight on water, Ethan didn't move. He just felt connected, like something ancient and silent now watched over them both. The sun began to set. Painting the sky in orange and gold, Ethan and Lyra stood at the edge of a wide river, its surface calm but strong underneath. The water rushed past like it had its own mission in caring, unstoppable, just like the hunters. Chasing them, they had run all day. Their feet were sore, clothes wet from the rain and sweat. The trees behind them whispered with the wind, but Ethan could still hear the faint hum of skimmers far in the distance. They're getting closer, he said, breathing hard. Lyra nodded, her hand gripping his tightly. We can't outrun them forever. Ethan looked across the river. The other side was steep but covered in thick brushwood cover. If they could cross here, they might lose their trackers. He looked down at the current. It's deep, he said, and fast. Lyra stepped forward. I can swim. I'm stronger in water. Ethan nodded. I know, but I'm not like you. She turned, her expression serious. Then hold on to me. He blinked. Are you sure? She nodded once. You've saved me. Let me carry you now. Ethan smiled weakly. All right, fish girl. Let's hope you're as good as you look. Lyra's cheeks turned a soft silver pink. It's the closest thing to a blush he'd seen from her, without another word. They stepped into the cold river together. The water rose quickly, past their knees, then to their waists. The current pulled hard, threatening to sweep Ethan away. But Lyra moved like she was born in its strong strokes, smooth balance. "Hold on," she said. Ethan wrapped one arm around her shoulders, and she kicked off the bottom, pulling him in too. The current it wasn't easy. Even with her strength, the river fought back. Logs drifted past. Underwater rocks scraped Ethan's leg. A wave hit them hard, sending water into his nose. But Lyra didn't stop. Her muscles moved with power and grace, slicing through the river like a blade. Her silver-blue skin shimmered under the water like a glowing beacon. Finally, they reached the other side. Ethan pulled himself up the muddy bank, coughing and gasping. Lyra climbed out beside him, barely breathing hard. She helped him up and guided him toward a patch of thick vines under a small rock ledge. "Here," she said. "They won't see us here." They ducked into the natural hiding spot and collapsed. On the dirt floor, the skimmers buzzed faintly in the sky above, searching the opposite side. Ethan let out a long breath. That was insane. Lyra leaned close, her eyes glowing softly in the dimming light. "But we made it." For a while, they sat in silence, hidden among the roots and shadows. Then Lyra said something strange. "There is a custom in my people's history," she said. "A bond. When someone gives their life for another, they may speak the river oath." Ethan turned his head toward her. "River oath," she nodded. "It's not about blood, it's about choice. When someone chooses to protect you again, and again they become your anchor. Your heart truth." Ethan gave a soft chuckle. "You mean like marriage?" "No," she said gently. "Much deeper. It cannot be broken, not even by time." He stared at her. "And you want to do this oath? With me?" Lyra looked down at her hands. "I was property before. A cage. A voice with no name. But you never asked for anything. You never looked at me like I was less. You carried me. Fought for me. I want to give this to you." Ethan swallowed. "And what does it mean? For me, if I speak it to you and you speak it back, I am yours. You are mine. It cannot be undone." The forest was quiet now. Even the birds seemed to be listening. Ethan took a deep breath. Then he whispered, "Lyra, I don't fully understand your world, or this bond. But I know this, when I saw you in that river, something in me changed. I don't want to leave you behind. I don't want you to be afraid again." He reached out and took her hand. "I'll say your words," he said. Lyra's lips trembled. Then she leaned forward and gently touched her forehead to his. She began to speak, voice low and musical. "By the waters that carried us, by the breaths we shared, by the fight and the fear, I bind my fate to yours." Ethan hesitated for only a second, then repeated, in his simple human voice, "By the waters that carried us, by the breaths we shared, by the fight and the fear, I bind my fate to yours." Soon as he finished, a soft pulse of light glowed. Between their hands, his skin warmed, and a faint symbol shimmered on his wrist, 3 small rings surrounded by waves. Lyra stared at it, eyes wide. "It accepted you." Ethan looked at the mark. "What is it?" "A seal of the oath," she whispered. "Even my people cannot question it now." He blinked. "So, I'm your anchor." "You are more than that now," she said. "You are my choice." Ethan's heart beat louder than the river. The girl he'd pulled from the water was no longer just a stranger. She was something more. Asterisk. The sound of rushing water grew louder, not from the calm river they had just crossed but from the rapids ahead. Sharp rocks jutted from the stream like jagged teeth, and the current slammed through them like thunder. Ethan stood at the edge, staring down. His heart pounded. "We can't cross here," he said. Lyra stepped beside him, scanning the sharp waters with narrowed eyes. "No," she agreed. This place, this is where we make a stand. Ethan turned toward her. What? She looked calm. To calm. They're close. I can feel the pulse in the air. The hunters are nearly upon us, she said. But this place is perfect. Narrow valley. Loud water. Sound will hide our movements. And if they chase us into the rapids, they won't leave alive, Ethan finished. She nodded. Ethan ran a hand through his damp hair. You've done this before? No, Lyra admitted. But I've run enough to learn where to stop running. Her words were simple, but strong. Then, from behind them came the hum of engine skimmers, the whine of antigrav pods pushing through trees, sharp crack of branches, metal on metal clicking. They're here, Ethan muttered. He crouched near the rocks, pulling out a flare from his pack, not to signal help, just in case they needed light or distraction. Lyra, beside him, had her hands clenched. Her voice began to hum a low, vibrating note that made the air around her shift. He looked at her, curious. Is that a weapon? It's a warning, she said. If they don't listen, it becomes more. The skimmers appeared over the ridge, sleek, black, spider-like ships hovering just above the ground. One by one, armored figures dropped from them. All wore faceless helmets, their bodies covered in dark, padded suits. They moved like machines, and they were coming straight for them. A voice echoed through a speaker. Subject 87. Surrender. You are property of the Rock Syndicate. The human will not be harmed if you comply. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady. I am no one's property. One of the hunters raised a weapon. That's when Ethan stepped beside her. You'll have to come through me first. The hunter paused, then fired. But the bolt missed. It shouldn't have missed. It was aimed straight at Ethan's chest. But it hit a rock beside him and exploded in a flash of smoke. Lyra's song grew louder. The very air seemed to push the hunter's aim off course. That's your song, Ethan said. It's working. Not for long, she warned. Hush. Takes energy, and I'm still weak. Ethan grabbed a heavy branch nearby, sharp, thick. He crouched low behind a boulder, waiting. The next bolt fired, and again, it missed. One of the hunters advanced too quickly. Ethan leaped out, swung the branch, and knocked the weapon from his hand. A second hunter lunged forward, but Lyra sang a high, piercing note. He froze mid-step, then dropped to the ground. Holding his helmet, more hunters fanned out. Trying to circle them, Ethan lit the flare and tossed it behind them into the rapids. A bright red light lit up the rocks, and suddenly the path behind them looked like a dead end. They'll think we're trapped, Aki whispered. Lyra gave him a strange look. Aren't we? Ethan grinned. Not yet. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the left side of the cliff wall. There, hidden behind moss and shadows, was a narrow crack in the rocks, barely wide enough for them to squeeze through. Go, he said. They slipped into the gap just as a flash pulse hit the rock where they'd been standing. The explosion shook the ground. Dirt and dust filled the air. Inside the tight passage, the roaring water drowned out the sound of their footsteps. Lyra clutched his arm, eyes wide, her voice silent now. She was saving her strength. Finally, the path opened again. They found themselves on a ledge above the rapids, hidden by vines and heavy trees. Below, the hunters scrambled on the slick stones, still thinking their targets were cornered. Ethan looked down, then at Lyra. You still have one of those voice tricks left? She nodded. One more. He pointed at a weak ledge near the hunters. Aim there. Lyra closed her eyes, then sang, not loud, not high, but with perfect clarity. The rock cracked with a sound like thunder. It crumbled beneath two hunters, who fell into the freezing rapids. Their screams lost in the roar. The rest panicked. The skimmers moved to retreat. The battle was over. Ethan and Lyra sat down on the edge of the cliff, both panting, both silent. Then Lyra whispered, "You didn't run." Ethan turned to her. "I told you. I'm your anchor now." She looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "And I'm starting to believe. Maybe humans are not destroyers after all." Ethan laughed softly. "Only some of us." They looked out over the fading light, the broken skimmers below, the cracked stones, and the angry river still rushing on. This was not the end, but it was their first real victory. The stars returned that night. High above the forest, the sky opened wide, clear, black, and endless. Ethan lay on the cliff ledge, breathing in the cold air, watching the last sparks of the destroyed skimmer burn out below. Beside him, Lyra sat, still, eyes closed, listening. He watched her silently. She looked peaceful now, not like the frightened girl he'd pulled from the river, or the one who had clutched his arm in panic while they ran through the trees. Her glowing skin flickered gently under the moonlight, and her voice was quiet but steady. "What are you doing?" Ethan asked softly. Lyra opened her eyes, calling them. "Them. My people," she whispered. "If any remain, they'll hear my song." Ethan sat up. "I thought they were gone." "They're hiding," she said. "Scattered, hunted. But if one hears me, if even one hears, I'll know I'm not the last." She took a breath and began to hum. It wasn't like the other times. This song wasn't for defense, or escape, or fear. It was for home. The melody was deep, like the ocean. It moved with the rhythm of water and wind. Soft at first, then fuller, like it carried weight, like memories. It echoed through the forest, climbed the trees, flowed over the river. Ethan listened, his chest tightening. He didn't understand the words, but he felt them: loneliness, longing, and something else. Hope. When the song ended, silence followed. Then Lyra spoke. "If they are near, they will come by nightfall." Ethan stood. "Then we wait." He didn't say it, but part of him was scared. What if they didn't come? What if she was alone, truly alone, or worse? What if they came and took her away? He pushed the thought aside. She had a right to be with her people, even if it meant letting her go. They built a small fire using broken branches. Ethan gave Lyra the last protein bar and shared a water pouch. Neither of them spoke much. The fight, the running, the vowed had all happened so fast. Now there was only quiet, until the wind changed. Lyra looked up fast. Her eyes glowed brighter. They're near. Ethan stood and turned. Across the river, the air shimmered. Ripples danced above the water, not from wind, but from something rising. Then he saw them, figures dashed tall and silver blue, like leery merging. From the river itself, their bodies moved like flowing silk. Gills on their necks, long hair drifting like sea plants, glowing softly. Armor of coral and metal, one by one. They stepped onto land. 6, 7, 8 of them. Then the tallest stepped forward. Her presence was powerful. Her skin shimmered like pearls. Her eyes met Lyra's, and in a quiet voice, she said something in their native tongue. Lyra ran to her. Ethan stayed back, watching. They embraced, mother and daughter. Lyra was crying. The others circled around, placing hands on Lyra's shoulders, humming a song that Ethan could barely hear. But it made the hairs on his neck rise. The tall woman turned toward him. "You are the one who kept her alive," she said in perfect calm English. Ethan stepped forward. "I didn't do it for thanks, but you shall have it," she said. "And more." She gestured toward his wrist. The glowing seal from the river oath was still there. "You are bonded," she said. "By ancient law, she is yours now. You are ours." Ethan blinked. "Wait, what?" Lyra turned, wiping her eyes. It means you are welcome among us, forever. He looked stunned. I'm just a human. Why would your people accept me? The tall woman smiled. Because we have seen many humans take. But you gave? Another stepped forward, an older male. We feared we had lost her. We feared we had lost hope. Ethan scratched the back of his neck. I just saw someone drowning. That's all. No, Lyra said. You saw me. Not just someone. The warriors knelt before him not in worship, but in respect. Lyra reached out and took his hand. Come, it's time. Time for what? He asked. To return with us. To our city. Below the ocean, Ethan's eyes widened. I can't breathe underwater. She smiled. You can now. She pulled a thin crystal from around her neck and placed it on his chest. It melted into his skin like water. Ethan gasped, then breathed in deep, clean, fresh, like ocean air. His lungs felt different. You're kidding? He whispered. Lyra grinned. You saved me from drowning. Now I'll keep you from ever drowning again. The group moved toward the river's edge. One by one, they slipped beneath the water, vanishing into the deep. Lyra turned to him. Ready? She asked. He looked at the forest, the fires, the ruins, the fear, and then at her. Yeah, he said. Let's go home. They dove together, the water closed around them like a warm blanket, and for the first time in years, Ethan felt like he finally belonged.